This is a tutorial that's going to show you how to control access to your blog. You're going to be determining who can access the blog and read it, and also determine who is able to make comments on your blog. The first thing you want to do is log into your blog as an administrator, and you'll come down and select the option under admin functions. You'll select settings, which will bring you to the user settings page. By default, you're just able to see what the current settings are. What you'll then do to make changes to those current settings is to come over here and select the edit option, which is this pencil button here. And you'll see now that the certain options are highlighted. You can change the name of your blog, you can change the theme of your blog as far as the way it looks and feels, colors and things like that. But the main thing we're interested in is access and comments. Now, what your blog is determined, the access to your blog is determined by who can read it. Okay, so you've got three different options there. For readers, you've got anyone, and by selecting anyone, what you're doing is allowing anybody who can get to the web can get to your blog and read the content. They can't make any changes or anything like that, but they can actually read it. Now, in addition to that, you've got authenticated users. An authenticated user is someone who will be able to get to your blog, but before they can read it, they're going to have to type in their username and password. Now, in this case, an authenticated user can be anybody from Dominican. Your blog will recognize Dominican usernames and passwords. The third category is specific users, and that's the one we're probably the most interested in. With specific users, you can create a list of the people who you want to have exclusive access to read your blog. In this case, I've got a group of people from the IT department who have access to this particular blog. Now, let's say I want to add an additional person. I've selected specific users as my readers option, and in this box at the bottom of the list where it says short username or group name, I'm going to type in the name of a user who I'd like to also have the ability to view the site. Notice I'm just typing in the Dominican username, which is the same name that you see in someone's email address. I'll type in that name and hit enter. And you can see now that individual is on the list of people who, when they navigate to my blog, will be prompted to log in. They'll type their Dominican username and password, and as long as they are on this particular list, they will be able to actually get into the blog and view it. Now, under comments, this is a different category. This will dictate who can actually make comments on the blog itself. Now, there's a few different categories here of users. There's none allowed, which means that no one will be able to make comments on your blog. So regardless of what category of reader they are, they're not going to be able to make a comment. Under authenticated users, this includes authenticated users and specific users. Okay, so those two categories fall into the authenticated user group. So regardless of whether you've set your blog to have authenticated user access or specific user access, people in these two categories of authenticated user or specific user, as long as you selected authenticated users as people who can make comments, people in these two groups, authenticated user and specific user, will be able to post comments to your site. And then finally, anyone. With anyone, what you're basically saying is anybody who can get to my blog and read it, regardless of whether they are an authenticated user, specific user, or whoever else, are able to make comments. With moderation, what you're doing is controlling whether or not people's posts are visible or not. With the option of none, what you're saying is regardless of who posts to my blog, their comments will be immediately visible. I will not be reviewing those comments before they're made visible. With all comments, you're saying that regardless of who posts a comment, I want to have the option of viewing that comment first and then determining whether it should be made publicly viewable. And then finally, only anonymous comments. This is to control if you have, for example, access control set up for anyone, then you'll typically want to have if you're going to allow people to make comments. With moderation, you may want to set it up so that only anonymous comments are subject to review. That way, if you don't know who made the comment, you can at least be certain that any comments that appear on your blog from anonymous users are appropriate. Conversely, when you have your group set up with a specific set of users, very often you won't want to bother with having moderation at all, because again, you will typically know who those users are. It's a fairly close group, and moderation is oftentimes not necessary.